Good morning or afternoon. It's a day off, so I usually don't keep track of the time. Daniel again. Um, Today, I will try to be as chipper as possible today, but today is kind of a little bit of a serious subject. Obviously, with the devastating storms brought on by Hurricane Harvey and what the damage they did to our coastal region, and the heavy flooding and just catastrophic amounts of water that the Houston area is taking on. Um, Obviously, this is a nerdy marching band, marching arts podcast. I guess you could say. I guess you could call it that. I don't know what this is yet, to be honest. Um, but obviously, there's recovering things that affect a lot of people across the state of Texas. So it makes sense to talk about it, and I'm gonna try not to spend too much time on it because I'll end up I could talk for probably 3 hours on this. Um, Houston people and people that were affected along the coastal region in Corpus Christi and Rockport and all those places, even further inland. I hope you are okay. I hope your family is okay. I hope your friends are safe. I hope your pets are doing well. I think that, well, everyone, I could speak on behalf of everyone that's on staff, quote unquote, at TexasBands.com when I say that our thoughts and well wishes are with your entire community. We hope you're taking care of each other. We hope you're safe, because the stuff that's happened in Houston over the last 4 or 5 days. This is you don't predict any. You hope and you predict that you never see anything like this ever in any part of the world. Um, when I was a little kid, and we'll talk marching band in a second, I promise. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be a weatherman. I watched the Weather Channel constantly, and I mean constantly. Uh, I mean, this was before the Weather Channel turned into a giant internet meme. You know, you know how that stuff goes. This is when they were just like, here's the weather. This is what it means. This is what it means in layman's terms. I always wanted to do that. I was fascinated by it. So when the storms hit the Houston area, it kind of took me back to my childhood, because I followed the storm pretty much the entire weekend. Even though I was working, I just had, a live feed on my computer at work just going. Um, and hearing and looking, hearing the stories and looking at the images and video, it's you hope you never see stuff like that ever. So I hope anyone listening to this is safe, and I hope you're in good spirits, even though your situation may not be so good. I'll talk a little bit about the role marching band will play in this going forward, and some and some other stuff real quick, and I promise I won't take up too much of your time. Um, Obviously, if you haven't heard, pretty much every school district in the greater Houston area, um, is closed for the week. It's all closed. They started shutting things down around Saturday. At first, a couple of school districts said, "Oh, we'll close Monday, Tuesday," and then when Sunday rolled around, they're like, "Hey, by the way, this giant storm that's crushing you all, it's gonna go back into the water, and then it's gonna come up again and hit you guys again." That's when everything kind of stopped. So I don't think anybody in the Houston area is going to school this week. Obviously, the last thing, if your homes have been affected, the last thing on your mind is, oh, when's marching band practice going to come back? I totally get it. You've got other things to worry about. Students, if you're listening to me, you've got your parents have a lot of stuff to worry about because the recovery effort doesn't just start with getting the water out of the house. There's a lot of work to be done with insurance companies, and there's a lot of stuff that needs to take place in order for things to get back to normal over there. But the main thing is, I hope you guys are safe. If you have each other, you have everything. I've learned that over the years. School districts closed, canceled everything. Basically, your football games are canceled. Your marching band practices are canceled. Your sectionals are canceled. It's gone for the week. UIL did we do have precedent over recovering some of the hours from that were taken because of school closures due to giant storms. Back in 2008, when Hurricane Ike hit the Houston area, UIL mandated that if your school closed because of the hurricane, you received an additional 1.5 hours, 1.5 hours, 90 minutes, however you want to say it, of rehearsal time for every day that your school was closed. So, for example, if your school was closed 2 hours or 2 days, 1.5 hours times 2 days, you would get an additional 3 hours of practice time, and you can use that basically however you saw fit. But it had to be after school on Friday or during the weekend because the 8-hour rule is in effect before a school day on Monday morning until the end of school day on Friday. That's a state law. So you had to put. So if you had those additional hours due to the hurricane closures, you had to use those on the weekends. That'll be difficult. That'll be real difficult to sandwich all those hours in there because if you're closed for 5 days, that's a lot of you got a lot of hours to make up. And trust me, and I'll probably reiterate this again. That's probably the last thing on the minds of those affected by this hurricane. There's no word yet on what UIL will do to accommodate marching bands affected by Hurricane Harvey. But obviously, the second we get word on that, I'll pass that along. Nothing yet for Music for All. My guess is that the Conroe Regional on October 7th, I believe. I'll double check that. That's correct. October 7th, which is technically not in Conroe. It's in Shenandoah, Texas, which is, it's right by Conroe, but it's technically not Conroe. Anyways, I would imagine that's going to go on scheduled as planned unless something happened to the stadium. And as far as I know, the regional is still a go. I've reached out to a couple of people to determine whether if they're going to make any sort of accommodations. There's nothing in the books just yet. However, I believe when Hurricane Ike hit, Bands of America relaxed the rules on show minimums. I think you have to perform at least 5 minutes of a show, or something like that. And I believe the rules were relaxed for the Houston Regional that year, which I believe took place in Pearland, because they knew the kids missed a bunch of school, and they may not have had enough time to use those additional hours to make up for lost practices. We'll see how all this plays out. Again, marching band, the last thing on people's minds. I will say this, though, and then I'll finish this thought and I'll get out of your way, I promise. The Conroe Regional that's coming up on October 7th, that's probably going to be, it's going to be one of the most unique regionals, Bands of America regionals ever. Simply because you're going to have a lot of programs there that all went through the same thing. Pretty much. Their school districts closed. Some of their subdivisions, mandatory evacuation. A lot of the Houston schools were facing the same types of problems. And that'll be one of the first times this year that they're going to all get together and they're all going to compete. That's going to be a real special regional. And if there's and I know a lot of people don't listen to this, and frankly I don't care. But if there's any Houston people out there listening to this, understand this: you guys, especially you, our marching band friends, you guys and girls are part of the healing process now. Getting back on the marching field whenever you get the chance, that's going to be a sense of you'll return to a sense of normalcy in some small way. Last week I talked about using the marching practice field, using the stadium as your sanctuary away from, tests and social anxiety stuff and all that stupid crap that you go through high school. That's going to be more important than ever. You're going to have people, and this is going to happen throughout the season, but especially at that regional on October 7th. You are going to have people cheering for you that you've never met. You're going to have people pulling for you that have no idea who you are. There's a chance that there are going to be people in the crowd standing up for you that you've never seen before, who probably donated significant amounts of money or non-perishable items or blankets, towels. They're going to be in the crowd that day. And they're going to be in the crowds for the rest of the season. And they're going to be pulling for you. There are going to be people listening to you for a sense of relief. You are now part of the healing process. The bands in the Houston, Texas area are now part of the healing process. You no longer play at least for this year, you no longer play for your high school. You play for people around the community. You play for an entire city. Because most of you all went through horrible, horrible things the last 4 or 5 days. People are going to look to you for a sense of normalcy. Something. Some sort of hope. Something to take their minds away from what's happened. Use that. Use that energy. Use it. I don't want to say use it to your advantage, but let it motivate you. That's going to be a real special regional. With just the sheer amount of programs that were directly affected by the flooding and by the storms. It's okay to lean on each other during times like this. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel how you're feeling. When you get back to the field, and I hope it's soon, and when you put your horn together, and when you put your uniform on, you put your shako on, and you make sure your plume is nice and tight. Before you take that breath, before you prep your move, understand that your responsibility is to give the crowd, give your community, and give your city a sense of normalcy. And when you're tired, when you feel weak, when you feel bogged down, push harder. It's for your community now. You'll learn this, and my older listeners will understand this. When you do something for someone else, when you know what you're doing is for someone else, that's what really matters. When you do it for someone else. That's what matters. I'm going to get out of here right now. Donate something to the relief efforts. Whatever charity you choose, donate something. Time, effort, money, goods, everything. Just don't sit there. Do something. These people need your help. It's all Texas. It's all Texas. We got to help them. They're part of us. We're part of them. Get out there and do something. And good luck to all my Houston friends. Good luck to all the marching bands out there for the rest of the season. Motivate yourself. Go out there. Be a part of the healing process. And I hope you all are safe. Thank you. Take care. Adios. Bye-bye.